secrets you carry in silence hold more power than words ever spoken. Every story shared, every detail broadcasted, subtly drains the energy meant for your growth. I am Shi Heng Yi, and today we step into the hidden currents of Shaolin wisdom, where the path to true mastery flows quietly beneath the surface. Many seek recognition, reassurance, or connection through telling their lives to the world. Yet the ancient Shaolin teachings reveal a paradox. Strength grows not from speaking, but from restraint. Every thought you voice, every experience you expose, can scatter the focus and clarity your spirit needs to rise. There is a subtle discipline in holding life within, a power in choosing when and if to speak. In this video, I will guide you through 9 transformative lessons that teach more than control of words. They teach mastery of the mind, the cultivation of presence, and the art of inner resilience. You will discover practices that have shaped generations of Shaolin monks, insights that turn silence into a tool sharper than any sword, and perspectives on life rarely shared outside the walls of the temple. By watching till the end, you will learn how to protect your energy, preserve the sacredness of your journey, and channel your life into actions that speak louder than any story ever could. These lessons are not just guidance. They are keys to stepping into a life of focused purpose, quiet power, and deep alignment with your highest self. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. Subscribe and join this journey of inner mastery, where the secrets of silence become your greatest strength, and every moment of stillness opens the door to a life lived with clarity, courage, and wisdom. The moments you do not speak are often the moments you understand the most. In the quiet, the true depth of life begins to reveal itself. Every experience you rush to share loses some of its weight, some of its essence. Shaolin wisdom teaches that inner stillness is not emptiness. It is power. It is the space where the mind sharpens, where the heart learns to listen, and where presence grows into a force that cannot be disturbed by the noise of the outside world. When you speak less about your life, you allow yourself to be fully immersed in it. You notice the small currents of thought and emotion, the subtle shifts in energy that often go unseen. Shaolin monks do not boast of their training or recount every struggle. They move through their days with a quiet awareness, letting action and intention speak for them. Every gesture, every disciplined breath carries meaning far greater than words could convey. In these silent moments, you cultivate attention. You notice the rhythm of your own mind, the pulse of your surroundings, and the patterns that shape your life. Presence is not built through external validation, but through turning inward and observing without judgment. It is in this observation that clarity is born, that decisions become precise, and that energy flows unbroken. Life, like water, responds to stillness. When you stop scattering your energy by telling your story at every opportunity, you begin to feel the fullness of each moment. The mind becomes a mirror, reflecting truth without distortion. In this reflection, your presence deepens. You are not merely living through events, you are experiencing them with a depth that cannot be captured in conversation. The quiet itself becomes your teacher, guiding you to mastery, one unspoken moment at a time. Every word spoken leaves a trace in the mind and body, a subtle transfer of energy that cannot be reclaimed. Energy is not endless. It flows like a river, strong yet limited. Ancient Shaolin teachings remind us that how we expend this energy determines the depth of our presence, the clarity of our mind, and the power of our actions. Speaking without restraint scatters this force, leaving the spirit fragmented and the mind restless. When you speak constantly about your life, your experiences, or your struggles, you are giving pieces of yourself away. Each conversation, each story shared for recognition or validation, draws from a reservoir meant for growth, reflection, and mastery. Wise practitioners learn to measure the cost of words against the value of energy preserved. They do not see silence as emptiness, but as a form of investment, energy held, refined, and redirected toward what truly matters. Mindful practice transforms how energy is spent. Every thought, every intention becomes a deliberate choice. Reflection, meditation, and purposeful action are not mere routines. They are ways to conserve and amplify life force. Energy directed inward fuels discipline, strengthens focus, and sharpens the mind's capacity to respond with precision. Energy expended outward without intention dilutes this power and leaves one vulnerable to distraction, doubt, and fatigue. Mastery emerges not from what is said, but from what is cultivated in quiet focus. To protect your energy is to honor your potential. Each unspoken word, each moment of restraint strengthens the inner foundation upon which skill, wisdom, and clarity are built. The life force within is not meant to be squandered. It is the fire that ignites action, the current that moves the body and mind in harmony, and the silent power that sustains the path of true mastery. Energy, once given freely, cannot be retrieved, so spend it with awareness, with intention, and with reverence. The world often waits for proof, for declarations, for loud affirmations, yet true strength does not need to announce itself. In the quiet halls of Shaolin temples, mastery is not measured by how often a monk speaks of his skill, but by the precision of his movements, the steadiness of his breath, and the calm in his gaze. Actions carry weight that words can never match, for they leave an imprint on the world that persists long after speaking has faded. When life is shared in constant explanation, energy is spent on seeking validation rather than building skill. The mind becomes restless, distracted by how it is perceived rather than focused on growth. Shaolin wisdom teaches that discipline begins inward. The body, the mind, and the spirit must be aligned through practice, repetition, and silence. Only then does action become a language of its own, clear and undeniable. Each intentional act becomes a reflection of inner mastery. A kind gesture, a disciplined routine, a mindful decision, these are the true statements of who you are. They ripple outward, influencing others without demand or expectation. Words may inspire for a moment, but actions transform. They touch, they teach, they endure. Focus shifts from validation to cultivation. When energy is devoted to mastery rather than explanation, the mind sharpens, the heart steadies, and the spirit finds depth. The world may not always notice immediately, but subtle change spreads through consistency and intention. Every deliberate action is a thread woven into the fabric of reality, stronger than any spoken promise. In living this way, life itself becomes the teacher. Silence is no longer emptiness. It is the space where skill, wisdom, and integrity converge. The world listens, not to what is said, but to what is done. Actions speak, and in their quiet power, they reveal the mastery that words could never convey. Many spend their lives seeking the nod, the praise, or the recognition of others, not realizing that each desire for approval subtly binds the spirit. Constantly sharing experiences or thoughts opens the door to judgment, expectation, and distraction. The mind becomes entangled in how it is perceived, rather than anchored in what is real. Shaolin teachings remind us that true freedom begins when the need for external validation is released. Detachment from approval is not coldness or isolation. It is the cultivation of inner sovereignty. The monk who trains in silence does not perform for applause. He moves with precision because the act itself demands it. His satisfaction comes from mastery, not acknowledgement. In this way, every thought and action is guided by discipline and clarity, untouched by the shifting opinions of others. Mindfulness deepens this practice. Observe reactions, observe circumstances, yet do not cling. Observe compliments and criticisms alike, but allow them to pass without leaving a mark on the mind. Each observation becomes a mirror, reflecting truth without the weight of attachment. Over time, the need for approval loses its grip, and decisions are made from alignment with the self rather than with the gaze of the world. Freedom is born in this detachment. Energy once spent worrying about judgment is now available for growth, reflection, and purpose. Presence becomes richer, choices clearer, and confidence steadier. Life unfolds with greater ease, guided not by the expectations of others, but by the principles of discipline, awareness, and integrity. When the mind no longer seeks applause, it moves with the fluidity of water, strong, adaptable, and unbound. In letting go of approval, the spirit finds room to expand. Every action, every decision becomes a quiet testament to mastery, proving that the deepest power is measured not by recognition, but by the freedom to live fully in one's own truth. The world speaks in 1,000 voices, yet few truly listen. Observation is the gateway to understanding, a principle at the heart of Shaolin practice. Before words leave the lips, the mind must pause, the heart must settle, and awareness must expand. In the quiet of observation, insight begins to take shape, subtle but undeniable. To speak without observing is to act blindly, guided by impulse or assumption. The monk who trains in silence learns first to watch, to feel the rhythm of movement, the shift in energy, the intentions hidden beneath actions. Every gesture, every glance, every breath carries meaning that can only be understood when attention is steady and patient. Through observation, the surface gives way to depth. Pausing before speaking is not hesitation. It is discipline. It allows thought to settle, emotions to quiet, and perception to sharpen. In this space, words are no longer mere reactions. They become precise, intentional, and resonant. Wisdom is not announced. It emerges naturally, nurtured by the act of seeing clearly and understanding fully before expressing. Life offers lessons in subtlety. A moment overlooked can hold guidance. A gesture unnoticed can teach patience, and silence often communicates truths that speech cannot capture. The practice of observing first fosters discernment, strengthens presence, and guards energy against unnecessary conflict or distraction. When insight grows from reflection rather than impulse, communication becomes an extension of mastery. Words carry weight, actions carry meaning, and the mind moves with clarity. Observation is the bridge between thought and action, between understanding and expression. In learning to watch, to feel, to sense deeply before speaking, one discovers that true wisdom is less about telling and more about perceiving, less about reaction and more about conscious alignment with the flow of life. The mind is a garden, and reflection is the act of tending it with care. In the stillness of journaling, meditation, or quiet thought, life begins to reveal its subtle patterns, truths that are often lost in the rush to speak or perform. Shaolin practice teaches that the strength of the outer life is born from the discipline of the inner world. Clarity, focus, and discernment do not arise from sharing experiences, but from observing them deeply and letting insight emerge in silence. Every thought recorded in solitude, every moment spent in meditation becomes a mirror of the mind. It is here that patterns are noticed, emotions understood, and decisions refined. External expression often fragments understanding, scattering energy across opinions, reactions, and fleeting impressions. Reflection, however, concentrates attention, shapes awareness, and nurtures wisdom. The quiet mind sees what the distracted mind cannot. It feels what the loud mind ignores. Shaolin masters have long emphasized the invisible practice, the hours spent alone observing breath, posture, and intention. These practices are not ornamental, they cultivate discernment, teaching the practitioner to move through life with precision and integrity. Every inner observation strengthens judgment, refines perception, and deepens mastery over both thought and action. The lesson is simple yet profound. The inner world dictates the outer life. When energy is devoted to reflection, actions become intentional, relationships more authentic, and decisions rooted in clarity rather than impulse. Life is shaped less by the stories told to others and more by the understanding cultivated within. Through disciplined reflection, the mind becomes a calm river, capable of guiding every choice with subtle strength. By turning inward, one learns to navigate the currents of life with awareness, patience, and resilience, transforming ordinary moments into opportunities for growth and mastery. Silence is not absence, it is the canvas upon which the self is revealed. There are moments in life so profound, so quietly transformative, that sharing them would diminish their power. Some experiences are meant to be held within, like a seed planted in fertile soil, growing unseen until it blossoms in its own time. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the journey itself is sacred, and not every step requires an audience to validate its significance. When life is broadcast too freely, the essence of experience can become diluted. Stories lose their depth when filtered through the expectations of others, and the energy invested in transformation dissipates in the process. Preserving the sacredness of your story is an act of discipline, a form of respect for the life you are living and the lessons you are learning. It is a mindful choice to honor what is intimate, private, and essential. Mindfulness invites reflection on the difference between sharing for connection and sharing out of compulsion. The monk does not recount his challenges to prove strength or resilience. He internalizes them, allowing wisdom to settle like sediment at the bottom of a calm pond. Over time, these internalized experiences shape decisions, character, and presence in ways that external validation never could. Each unspoken story becomes a reservoir of power, available for clarity, action, and insight. By choosing silence, you create space for reflection and understanding, preserving the energy of the moment for growth rather than display. Life's most meaningful lessons are often those that remain unseen, unfollowed, uncommented upon. When you honor your journey in quiet reverence, you cultivate a depth of self-mastery that words cannot convey. Not all knowledge needs an audience. Some truths thrive in the stillness, shaping the person you become, quietly guiding actions and decisions, and revealing the profound strength found in preserving the sacred within. The mind is the architect of every word spoken, every action taken. In Shaolin practice, mastery of speech is never pursued before mastery of thought. To speak without discipline is to scatter energy, to surrender clarity to impulse and habit. True communication begins in the silence of the mind, where awareness and intention are cultivated with patience and care. Reactive sharing, gossip, or impulsive storytelling may feel natural, even harmless, yet each act subtly erodes focus and presence. The untrained mind jumps to expression, seeking relief, approval, or connection, often at the cost of inner strength. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the mind must first be trained, sharpened, disciplined, and calm, before the lips can carry words that are meaningful, precise, and aligned with purpose. Meditation, reflection, and observation are tools of mastery. They allow thoughts to settle, emotions to balance, and insight to emerge. In this stillness, the practitioner discerns which words serve clarity and which serve distraction. Each moment of restraint becomes a deliberate choice, a small but powerful act of control that strengthens the mind's capacity to communicate with intention. When the mind is disciplined, speech becomes an extension of presence. Words carry weight, resonance, and purpose. They are not spoken to fill silence, to impress, or to soothe insecurity. They are spoken to convey understanding, to guide, to reflect truth. This intentionality transforms everyday interaction into an act of mastery, a reflection of inner alignment and self-discipline. A disciplined mind shapes not only communication but life itself. When thought precedes speech, energy is preserved, clarity is maintained, and every expression becomes meaningful. Mastery of the mind before the mouth ensures that words build rather than scatter, connect rather than divide, and reflect the quiet strength cultivated in the stillness of practice. True confidence is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition, and it does not seek validation through stories told or moments broadcast. In the practice of inner cultivation, confidence grows naturally when attention is turned inward and the need for external approval fades. Shaolin teachings emphasize that mastery of mind, body, and spirit is the foundation of lasting self-assurance. When life is constantly shared, energy is scattered, and the mind looks outward for reassurance. Recognition becomes a substitute for presence, and applause replaces discipline. By stepping away from the need to explain, justify, or display, the practitioner allows self-assurance to emerge from experience rather than opinion. Every deliberate action, every mastered skill, every silent victory strengthens a quiet certainty that does not rely on others to confirm it. Mindfulness is key in this process. Observe achievements without clinging to them. Notice strengths without boasting. Accept imperfections without judgment. Contentment arises from alignment with purpose and the consistent practice of mastery, not from the fleeting attention of an audience. In this way, confidence is not a performance. It is a state of being. The path to inner confidence is cultivated through repeated practice, reflection, and disciplined focus. Each day becomes an opportunity to strengthen awareness, refine skill, and act with intention. The more energy is devoted to growth and self-mastery, the less the mind seeks reassurance from outside sources. Over time, this quiet cultivation manifests as a presence that others naturally recognize, a strength that commands respect without force, and a certainty that is immune to judgment or distraction. Confidence is earned in silence, nurtured in discipline, and lived through mastery. It is not announced, it simply exists, steady and unwavering, rooted in the inner work that shapes every action and decision. Life is not a puzzle meant to be solved quickly, nor a story that demands constant narration. Some truths are hidden, unfolding only to those who move with patience, discipline, and quiet attention. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the deepest lessons reveal themselves in silence and practice, not in words or explanations. To embrace the mystery of life is to step into a rhythm that transcends the need for immediate understanding or external validation. When experiences are shared too quickly, their depth often escapes notice. The energy of discovery is dispersed, and the subtle currents that guide growth can be disturbed. In contrast, when the mind rests in observation and the heart allows life to flow without interference, insight emerges naturally. The world is full of hidden patterns, lessons woven into ordinary moments, waiting for the disciplined eye and attentive spirit to perceive them. Silence becomes a teacher. Each unspoken moment offers a space to reflect, to feel, and to attune to the subtle movements of reality. Shaolin practitioners understand that mastery is not about immediate answers, but about gradual alignment with the forces that shape existence. Patience and restraint allow the mind to recognize what is essential, while rushing to speak or explain can cloud perception and scatter energy. Embracing mystery nurtures humility and deepens awareness. It reminds us that life is larger than any single narrative, and that some lessons are meant to be lived rather than told. Growth occurs in the spaces between words, in the quiet commitment to practice, and in the willingness to move with life rather than against it. In surrendering the need to understand everything at once, the spirit opens to subtle guidance, unexpected insight, and profound transformation. The mystery of life is not a barrier, it is the path itself, guiding the seeker toward mastery, wisdom, and the silent strength that comes from walking deliberately, observing keenly, and allowing life to reveal its truths in its own time. The path we have explored today is one of quiet strength and mindful mastery. The 9 lessons guide us to turn inward, preserve our energy, and cultivate a disciplined mind. They remind us that true power does not come from attention, approval, or constant explanation, but from the inner work we commit to each day. Real strength arises when presence, reflection, and restraint become natural habits. By observing before speaking, protecting your energy, embracing silence, and honoring the sacredness of your journey, you align your actions with purpose rather than perception. Every moment of mindful practice strengthens your inner foundation and allows your life to ripple outward with subtle but undeniable impact. Apply these lessons in daily life. Pause before you share. Reflect before you act. Choose silence when it preserves clarity and energy. Let your actions, discipline, and presence speak louder than any story could. In doing so, you cultivate confidence, wisdom, and resilience that cannot be shaken by the world's opinions. By observing, reflecting, and acting with intention, you honor both your journey and your power. Your life becomes a practice of mastery, where each decision, each pause, and each thought strengthens the harmony between mind, body, and spirit. If this journey resonates with you, join us on Shaolin Soulfire. Subscribe and be part of a community dedicated to inner growth, mindful living, and the timeless wisdom of Shaolin practice. Embrace the quiet, cultivate your strength, and let your life speak with clarity and presence.